Is there a sports star or politician or author that you really like, that you glorify? When you glorify someone, you think they're great and you tell people how awesome they are. We all have people we look up to that we praise and we glorify. But how often do you glorify God? Isn't what God has done for us more impressive than any athlete or author or person? Asa was the sixth king of Israel. He was a really good king. He became king in 911 BC. He ruled for 41 years. They had a great army, over 580,000 men. Things were great. God had blessed them because Asa, by his words and actions, glorified God, and because Asa encouraged the people to do so as well. Well, Zerah, the king of Ethiopia, wanted their wealth, so he came to conquer Judah with an army of over 1,000,000 men. That is 20 times the size of the army of King Asa. Zariah and his army came to Marashah, and Asa came with his army to fight them, there in the valley of Zephathiah. What would you do if you were fighting an army with 20 times as many soldiers as you? Asa trusted the Lord and glorified God. He said, "Lord, it is nothing for you to help, whether with many or with those who have no power. Help us, O Lord our God, for we rest on you, and in your name we go against this multitude, O Lord. You are our God. Do not let man prevail against you." The Lord answered Asa and struck the Ethiopian army with fear and weakness, so they fled before the army of Asa. And Asa's army pursued them and overthrew them and took back to Jerusalem much livestock and valuables. On the way back, God sent a prophet to Asa who said, "The Lord is with you, while you are with him. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. Be strong, and do not let your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded." This messenger from God was telling Asa if he continued to trust and glorify God, God would bless him. Asa took courage from God's message. He glorified God not just in word, but also in deed. He tore down all the altars to idols. He had a special celebration to thank God for their victory over the Ethiopians. They sacrificed from the livestock that they took from the Ethiopians 700 bulls and 7,000 sheep. There Asa led the people to make a covenant to seek the Lord with all their hearts, and they got rid of all those who would not turn to the Lord from their sin and idolatry. And the Lord blessed Judah. He gave them peace and prosperity. Better even than that earthly peace and prosperity, God gave them forgiveness for their sins, as God always gives forgiveness to those who turn to Jesus from their sin and their idolatry. The Lord was worth all the glory Asa gave him and more. God alone could give Asa victory over Zariah. God did. God gave them victory and peace. Who is worth more praise than God? No one. God also is worth all the glory and praise we can give him and more. God alone can give us victory over Satan, and God has. God gives us victory and peace. God won a victory for us over death and Satan at the cross, so that we could have peace, not just for some years here on this earth, but for eternity in heaven. Who is worth more glory and praise than Jesus? No one. That brings us to our passage of the week. Psalm 50, verse 15. "Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me." Say that with me and write it on your heart. Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. The next time you, or if you see someone who's having a really hard time, you can tell them this passage. Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Our catechism for this week is the sixth commandment. You shall not commit adultery. What does this mean? We should fear and love God, that we lead a pure and decent life in words and actions, and that husband and wives love and honor one another. This is one of the things that Asa set out to do. When his own grandmother promoted the worship of a false god who encouraged people to not live a pure and decent life, Asa removed his grandmother from a position of power and smashed her idol and drove out from Israel all those who promoted not leading a pure and decent life in words and action. Say it with me again now. Sixth commandment. You shall not commit adultery. What does this mean? We should fear and love God, that we lead a pure and decent life in words and actions, and that husband and wives love and honor one another.